Well, we did tell you that we're keeping attention here on politics, but we're looking at it as it relates to the umpire and its preparedness or the perception of political parties as it gets ready for the 2027 elections. We do know that INEC has now released even stricter guidelines as we head into the polls, and we're just a little curious as to what political parties make of these guidelines as it introduces a maximum spending limit, changed a bit the key dates and times, which has now been upheld by the courts. We also know that it has a new mandate for political parties. They have to maintain the digital register. They have to have oversight. It's maintaining its own oversight on the political primaries. They have compressed compliance windows, etc., etc. How is this affecting the new political parties, especially, for instance, the ADC? The ADC has always been in existence, but its level of participation in the elections has now been increased, especially with the political heavyweight it has on board. So this morning we're joined by a chieftain of the political party, that's the ADC. He is a former presidential candidate of the, or was a former presidential candidate of the National Conscience Party, former presidential aspirant to the PDP in 2023, and now let's just call him a chieftain of the ADC today. Good morning, and it's good to see you, Chief Dele Momodu. Thank you for joining us all the way from Accra. I want to believe that at some point you'll come home and you'll be based here, because clearly the campaign season is almost upon us and there is work to be done. However, as political parties get ready for the work that they have to do, what is the perception of the umpire as it goes into the polls?
Well, let me start by saying that I live part-time in Ghana. Home is home. I actually left Nigeria yesterday. I got here yesterday. I try to keep myself busy. I don't want to be a career politician. A lot of politicians don't have other jobs, but I have a job. So that is how it is. On the perception of the umpire, INEC, I think INEC has a lot of work to do and a lot of ground to cover for majority of Nigerians to believe they are serious as an umpire. The impression currently is that INEC is impotent, and you cannot blame Nigerians for that. There is a Yoruba proverb that a woman whose child has been killed before by a witch sees every woman as a witch. So INEC had always dashed the hopes of Nigerians. So don't be surprised if Nigerians see INEC as a witch that will continue to kill and suck the blood of its victims. Despite all the resources poured into INEC, it usually fails so glaringly and spectacularly. I'll give you an example. Next week, we are expecting an election in Osun State, just one state out of 36 states in Nigeria. And what are we seeing? It's like a war. They are bringing in soldiers, bringing in police, bringing in battalions. Some people have already gotten their faults. And they are shooting sporadically on the streets. So this cannot be what election should be. I mean, we saw in 1993 how the June 12th election ran very smoothly. But today, we don't have anything close to that. Nigeria should be improving, not deteriorating, not degenerating. And the umpire cannot be different from those who appointed them. If those who appointed you don't believe in free and fair election, they will do everything possible to manipulate, to maneuver, to meander, and make sure that they have their way by hook and crook. So that's where we are. It's going to take a miracle for Nigerians to believe. So I don't envy Professor Amupito. I watch him every now and then when he is speaking. And I hope he has the confidence, the courage, and the composure to look straight in the eyes of those who appointed him and say, no, I can't help you beyond what the law of Nigeria says. That's all. But if you just want to mark time, waste time, and then declare useless results, then we end up like his predecessors, and that would be so unfortunate.
You know, Chief, without prejudice to your submissions, we also have to admit that we're not where we were, you know, in terms of where the umpire used to be. We do know that there have been elections conducted by the umpires that have been commended. You took the example of Osun right out of my mouth, because we do know that, I mean, you haven't hidden the fact that the current governor of the state is a friend of yours, a personal friend of yours, even though now he belongs to another political family. He's of the Accord party in Osun State, and he's, of course, very involved in these elections as he's running for a second term. Do you think that the perception that INEC suffers is more as a result of the actions of politicians? Because they oftentimes are the ones who are desperate, who, you know, corrupt some of these INEC people. They're the ones who import thugs. They're the ones who cause violence in the elections, not the umpire. Some people say, well, the place has to be safe for the umpire to be able to do its work. If politicians make the environment unconducive to the conduct of proper elections, shall we blame the umpire for it?
It's good that you noted that Governor Ademola Adeleke is my friend. He's not just my friend, he's my twin brother. We were born same year. He was born May 13, 1960. I was born 3 days after May 16, 1960. And we've been friends forever. So I should know him very well. He's a man of peace. We're not in the same party, but that doesn't stop us from relating, from interacting. Unfortunately, I have a media empire that I can put at anyone's disposal. So we cover everybody. Once you approach us, that's our job. So I'm covered. So nobody can accuse me of anti-party. Whatever you see that we put on my platform, Innovation platform, is as a result of the fact that I'm first and foremost a journalist. But what we are witnessing in Osun State is muscle flexing. It has nothing to do with the governor. So it is INEC that will now need to interact more with the security agencies and ensure that they can maintain law and order. I do not see anywhere that the governor, a man who is permanently happy, is probably the happiest politician in Africa. That's why you see him dancing and singing all the time. So such a man is working hard in the state. It's glaring, it's obvious, and I don't see him as someone who will corrupt INEC or anybody. Those who will try to corrupt INEC are those who want to read. Those who have nothing to show. You know, in an election, you are supposed to sell what you have to offer or what you've offered in the past. So, but in a situation where you have nothing to show and nothing to offer, then you begin to do self-help. And that's what I see happening in Nigeria more often than not. Look, the presidential election of 2027 will not be difficult for Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu to win if he can show the records of his performance. Nobody hates him personally. Nobody just wants to kick him out because they don't like it. No, it is about performance. Present your scorecards. So let all these people running around, running you and threatening hellfire, let them calm down and spend that energy on showing the performance of APC. What we are seeing is APC abusing itself, abusing its predecessor, saying they inherited a useless government, a useless economy. I have never seen a place where a party destroys its own predecessors like APC. So now let's assume that truly President Bola Tinubu inherited a bad government. So what has it done in the last 3.5 years to change the direction of its predecessor and make life easier for people? And my analogy is always about rushing a patient to a doctor. The patient meets the doctor applies an injection, and instead of the patient stabilizing, the patient goes instantly into coma. And for 3.5 years, the patient remains in ICU. You can't blame anybody. You cannot say when the patient arrived, the patient was breathing, the patient was conscious, but you, the doctor, applies an injection and the patient goes comatose. Who are you going to blame? You cannot blame those who brought the patient intact. You have to blame yourself for misapplying or misdiagnosing and not preparing well for the proper administration to be given to the patient. That is the way government runs. How much was a dollar when Buhari left? How much is the dollar today? How much was food when Buhari left? How much is food today? How much debt did Buhari leave behind? How much have we acquired? What did Buhari do with the resources available to him? What are we doing today with our own resources when we cannot balance the budget? We are borrowing money as if loans are going out of vogue, and yet we cannot see what we are doing with it. We cannot even operate as a simple free education for our youth, if nothing else. Then the subsidies that we claim to have removed, so how much are we gaining today and what are we doing with the gain? So these are the questions to be answered. It's nothing personal. So let the government focus on that instead of attacking its critics. The other day it was the bad, Archbishop Onoyeko that they were attacking. Why? Because he met with the president and he stated his own perception, what he saw, the body language of the president, and they can't even tolerate that. Now they are saying, oh, they know where it belongs, he must be a politician. This is unfortunate.
Chief, let me
be one of the biggest critics of other governments.
Let me let Ayo come into this conversation, because I know he also has some questions for you as well. Ayo.
Well, thank you, Maokwe. I'll take it, Chief, from the angle where you mentioned that you are also a journalist. And it's about, Maokwe asked about the political parties, their role, their responsibility in this whole process. I mean, in cahoot with INEC or thereabout. Recently, it's what we started the conversation with this morning. Some journalists were attacked in the process of doing their job, trying to cover an event. And this is not the first of it we're hearing about. I'm sure you heard about that as well. Something that happened in Ebonyi State. My colleagues on Morning Brief have tried to talk to the journalists as well. For some reason, the network wasn't really friendly. Is there anything that can be included in any of our guidelines, maybe from INEC or from anywhere, that can call to order any political party that's that's involved in all of these nefarious activities? Because it is so on the one hand, there is the role for the political parties. On the other hand, now journalists trying to do their jobs and being hindered one way or the other. As a journalist, I mean, you know, we've gone, you've been through the trenches, so you know how it feels for a journalist to be attacked. But not now. This is 2026. Is there anything you think can be done in our rules, laws, guidelines, or whatever to forestall these kind of activities, particularly by political elements?
Well, I love to quote Chief Mashood Abiola a lot. Chief Abiola used to say that if you want to know if a fish is bad, smell the head. If the head is rotten, then the whole body is gone. The problem in Nigeria comes from the very top. And that's why I felt so bad when our president and commander-in-chief told the Catholic priest that all is fair in politics. No, it used to be all is fair in war, and politics cannot be equated to war. We are not fighting a war. It is a contest of ideas, a contest of achievement. So once the politicians believe that all is fair in politics, that's totally Machiavellian, and that is unacceptable. Let our leaders, let President Tinubu henceforth, between now and January, begin to preach peace, begin to preach the democracy, the progressive democracy that he and others fought for. Let him maintain that. Let that be his legacy. No, look, say what you will. Former President Goodluck Jonathan said his ambition is not worth the blood of any Nigerian. That is how statesmen behave, and that is how they talk. So the temperature, the political temperature in Nigeria right now is so tough that you can almost slice it with a knife. And it is because politicians are saying they must win, not fair and square, but by any means necessary. So that is where the danger lies. And journalists, we have to go everywhere. And the moment a particular government feels you are being a critic, then you are an enemy. Critics are not enemies. When tomorrow comes, when this power ends, as it will surely end, you will realize that those who were actually criticizing you were your best friends. Because you are not going to be there forever. Buhari, who was your predecessor just yesterday, has passed on, yet his own party is still disparaging the old man. So journalists are just doing their jobs, and they should be allowed to do their jobs.
Well, Chief, you know, we can go on with this conversation because even your candidate of your political party, you know, he's been in the news over the weekend. As a matter of fact, the papers have quite a number of responses from the ruling political party at the center to things that he had to say. We're seeing this morning, you know, also, I think it started from the comments of President Olusegun Obasanjo speaking about his biggest regrets, picking Atiku as vice president, my biggest regret. Thank God his actions couldn't harm Nigeria. That was the comments of Chief Olusegun Obasanjo at the book launch of Charlie Boy, you know, Charles Oputa. I'm sure you must have heard that, and what eventually spawned and back and forth that we've seen. Would have loved to go in there. I don't know if you have 30 seconds. If you can do that. I'm sure you must have seen the back and forth. Do you want a quick response on that?
It's obvious that Baba does not want Atiku to be president ever. So, and he's doing everything possible to disrupt Atiku. But the same Baba in 2019 was praising Atiku and saying the man who will be president. So I don't know what has gone wrong again between them. But my appeal to Baba is that whatever Atiku did to him, I'm sure we're not aware of it because he has not come out to tell us. All we hear is if the bad man is a bad man. But yet you find the Okonjo Iweala's saying that the best vice president in Nigeria was Atiku Abubakar. His office assembled the greatest minds that God has blessed Nigeria with. So I don't know what is between them, and I don't think he would ever tell us, but I know that he knows that Atiku is on the rise. He came second in the last election against all odds. And now that Nigerians are more tired of APC, Baba knows that Atiku is getting closer to his destination. It's been at it since 1993, and slow and steady wins the race. And we in ADC are praying that this final battle will show Nigerians that it is good to be patient. Atiku has never responded to Baba directly. He has never attacked him.
All right.
That's a gentleman, and we are happy for him. Thank you.
You know, when you say you don't know what has gone wrong again, the play by Olarotimi immediately came to mind, but I'm not going to say the title. I know you know the title. As
our husband has not married him.
You're the one who said it. I didn't say anything. Well, I have to thank you very much for coming on Sunrise Early this morning. Chief Momodu is a chieftain of the African Democratic Congress, as well as many more titles that he holds. Thank you so much for speaking with us on the program this morning.
Thank you. Thank you. I know my namesake. Thank you.
All right. So that's where we draw the curtain this morning on Sunrise Today. Thank you so much for being a part of it. I'm Malkwe Ogunyiso.
Unfortunately, you are a Yoruba man as well, Chief, so I can't be a vice presidential candidate, even if you wanted to run for president. Anyway, Amaya Maki, the Business Morning is on the hour. Enjoy the rest of your day.